day of action for climate change. Public anger boils over in the push for a deal in Copenhagen.
The fate of my country rests in your hands.
There's not much talk of Tiger Woods in Tuvalu tonight. The tiny Pacific island nation is more focused on its very survival as it disappears into the rising sea. A Tuvalu delegate made an emotional plea for quick action at the climate change conference in Copenhagen today. And as CTV Geneviève Beauchemin reports, that message was echoed by activists at the summit and around the world.
In a sea of protest, riders clashed with police in Copenhagen. Officers arrested more than 600 demonstrators. But that was just part of a largely peaceful movement.
We either swim or sink together.
Tens of thousands marched towards the summit venue, demanding an ambitious global pact, they say, to save the planet. It was part of a wave of action that washed over the globe, from Australia to South Africa to China, where beating drums counted down, protesters say, to disaster. There's not much time left for us to save the earth, says this organizer. Canadian activists added their voices in more than 300 marches, vigils, some stripping down in the cold for the cause. They denounced Prime Minister Stephen Harper's position heading to Copenhagen.
I don't think he deserves Christmas presents this year with the position he's been taking. The bottom line is they're sitting on Western oil money in a world where we have to stop using oil.
Environment ministers, including Canada's, have now joined the summit. A draft proposal circulated Friday. Some wealthy countries, though, say early talks aren't tough enough on developing countries. And there's no agreement yet on funding to help poor countries cope with climate change. The Pacific island nation of Tuvalu, where rising seas pose a serious threat, pleaded for a strong deal.
The fate of my country rests in your hands.
Protesters say they want their voices heard now as the heads of state of more than 110 countries are joining discussions in Copenhagen this week. They hope public pressure will help bring in big changes. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
And joining us now from Ottawa, Chief Political Correspondent Craig Oliver. Well, Craig, as we heard in Geneviève's report, the protesters are hoping that their voices will contribute to big changes. Well, how far is Stephen Harper prepared to go at this summit?
As far as the Americans are willing to go, that much, or perhaps that little. The view of the Harper government is they should not burden the Canadian energy industry with costs that would make them uncompetitive with their American counterparts. So whatever the Americans are going to do, we're going to do. The other point here is it's going to take a long time to know, Sandy, because whatever he agrees to in Copenhagen, Obama has to persuade a recession-weary Congress to add to a deficit which is already just deadly to them, and that's going to be difficult.
Well, Craig, Canada's already received numerous fossil awards at the summit. The country's been criticized for lack of action on climate change. Can this country satisfy the critics?
Well, he'll never satisfy the most ardent environmentalists. I think that he hopes that if Canada goes lockstep with the Americans, most Canadians might buy into that. The other problem, of course, is that Canada's reputation in Europe as a dirty energy producer has become so bad that it could be that Alberta and Saskatchewan turn into the equivalent of the Newfoundland seal hunt as far as European protesters are concerned, and that could be real difficult.
Okay, thanks, Craig. CTV's Craig Oliver in Ottawa. And Craig will have more on this tomorrow on Question Period.